with the industry to enable new designs that are more adaptable and deliver a great customer experience. So I want to show you a real glimpse of what that looks like and what the future holds. So please join me in welcoming Jeff Meredith on stage, Senior Vice President and General Manager from Lenovo. Jeff. Jeff, you cleaned up pretty well. Good to see you. How are you?
Looking good.
Good.
Good to be here. Good to see all of you today.
So hey, why don't you talk to the folks about some of what you're seeing in the market, some of the trends.
You know, I think I'll start with the point that 2017 was a pretty good year for the PC industry, especially the last 2 quarters, and continuing into Q1 in 2018, we saw some revitalization. And I think can be attributed to the fact that as an industry, we're starting to really focus on specific customer use cases, more evolving use cases. And you mentioned that with form factors. Form factors are driving a big part of that. Consumers are definitely taking a new look at PCs. And I think as an industry, it's imperative that we continue to be more mindful of these ever-changing usage patterns, these ever-changing demographics in terms of the construct of our users.
Yeah.
So that's key as we move forward.
Yeah, so why don't you tell people a little bit more about how you see things changing, a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've used as a framework for driving innovation in our industry is to make the PC more like the phone. And I think in some ways that's very much right on. We want more portability. We definitely want more mobility and continuous connectivity. But there's another facet of that comparison that I think is really worth looking into. And that's this idea that the use cases are very different between a smartphone and a PC.
So talk more about it. I agree that people use these two platforms very differently, right?
Yeah, I think dialing in on this really will give us a framework as we go forward to look at new innovations. So the statistics clearly show you that your smartphone, while very critical to you and something that we're all passionate about, is used in brief intervals. And it's used in almost a multitasking way throughout your day. But the PC is different. The PC you use when you're dialed in, when you're concentrating. It's kind of like your best friend that you go to when you really need to just have a good conversation. When you're focused.
Right. So let's talk about that, because that was one of the themes we had, was let's create the best platform to enable people to focus.
Yeah, this idea of focus, I think, is really important for us to hone in on. So focus in the past was when you were in a sedentary state, sitting at your desk, oftentimes the same desk every day, tranquil environment, and you did it in a repeatable fashion. But you know, today it's much different, and I think this has a big implication for what we do with PCs going forward.
So how do you think it's different now and going forward in terms of focus?
Yeah, you know, focus now happens in the most remarkable ways amongst chaos. I see a younger generation that can focus in ways that I never thought I could, whether it's, you know, in a coffee shop that's chaotic and loud, whether it's in a stairwell of a university hall where people are trying to cram to finish up, you know, a paper right before, even on a plane where you're cramped in but you're really dialed in for hours on a long haul plane. So this idea of focus also relates to what we're doing when we're focused. We oftentimes think business, I'm doing work. Well, you can be just as focused if you're binge watching Netflix, Stranger Things, for 6 hours
Not
straight.
that you'd ever do that.
I would never do that myself, but you know, most certainly that could happen.
Right. So now I know you guys have a model for how you think about where you want to take the
You know, this idea of focus has driven us in many ways collaboratively with you guys. Has driven us to really think about building devices going forward that enable you to focus in more places, in more ways, and in more times. This is kind of the mantra that we've taken.
Well, now I know you personally were a champion of this approach, and we've been working together for a while now, and you drove some devices, and you've learned a lot along this journey. So why don't you tell folks a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, Yogabook has kind of been the umbrella that we've put our work in this space under. And we started on the journey a little bit more than 2 years ago with you guys when we launched the first generation of our Yogabook product. And I think, you know, this product, super thin product, dual touch screens, has enabled us to step later on this year into Gen 2, which will give 2 display panels. And then as we go on, late in 2019, 2020, we'll take another step that I don't want to go into great detail on, but definitely it's a journey.
I can't tell you to.
No, I'm not going to reveal much more about it.
Now I know you learned a lot in phase one and you want to make improvements in the Yogabook too, so why don't you talk about some of what?
Yeah, you know, the first generation of the Yogabook was really a bit of an experiment for us. On this area of coming up with an entirely new form factor that can enable people to focus in these, new ways. So the things that we learned were very valuable. The first thing, it's used as a PC. Almost 3/4 of the time it was used as a PC versus a tablet. Much more so than we expected. People love the thin and light form factor. Throw it in a purse, on the go, great device for that. But they wanted some enhancements in the way the device used two screens from an interactive standpoint, as well as just multitasking capabilities and the simplicity of it across the two screens.
Right, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I know, I'm sure you brought a sneak preview of the device that you're about to launch for us here on stage, right?
You might have done that. So, this is the first sneak peek of the Generation 2 Yogabook. So you can see the product itself will be launched late in this year and be ready for holiday sales. And we've maintained some of the key things that we had in the first generation. Still ultra thin and light. It's got dual panels, but 2 display panels this time. It's really got a much better inking experience.
Right.
And we learned from our users that that's something that we needed to step up and we need to enhance the precision. We've also worked collaboratively with you guys because we know it's a PC to put a much higher performance CPU in it.
All in that small package.
All in this small package. And the last thing that I'll mention, because we're using a display panel here and we've got a lot more flexibility, we've embedded AI to make our input a little bit more predictable and just fluid, a little bit more fluid.
That's fantastic. Well, I love the way that looks. I'm sure the audience does too, and they can't wait to get it. Thank you so Thank you so much for bringing out and showing us this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wow, I love it.
最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。チャンネル登録の方もできればお願いいたします。